Hey friend, have you ever found yourself saying yes to everything, like working on your days off, squeezing people in, bending over backwards for requests, all because you just want to avoid disappointing someone? I totally get it because I have been there too. When I first started my business back in 2010, I thought saying yes to every client request was such a badge of honor and that it was the key to being successful, especially as a creative entrepreneur. But what I didn't see at the time was the cost of my energy, my happiness, and even the relationships I worked so hard to build. So in today's episode, I'm opening up about how I broke free from people pleasing, learned to set boundaries, and earned more respect from my clients than ever before. And together, you and I are going to uncover the root of your people pleasing, discover how you can build real confidence, and explore how to communicate your boundaries with compassion and authority. So grab your cozy socks, get your favorite blanket, and get comfy, and let's dive in. Hey there, you just stumbled into the Anxious Creative Podcast, where overthinking turns into ahas, mess ups become magic, and anxious spirals, totally part of the process. I'm Dawn Bradley, your messy, imperfect host, here to help you, the recovering people pleaser, the perfectionist, to stop chasing the unachievable and start embracing the chaos. Spoiler alert, that's where the real magic happens anyway. So buckle up, friend, because we're about to have some laugh so hard till you cry moments, a few hard truths to help you grow, and naturally a little, or let's be honest, a lot, of oversharing. You ready? Let's dive in. When I went out on my own in business in 2010, I said yes to every single request that a client asked of me. You want me to come in on Sunday? Yes, I was so scared of losing clients that I literally never said no. I didn't think that was an option. And I didn't see a downside to it. I remember praising myself of, man, I know how to run a business. Clearly, I am so good at this customer service thing. Until fast forward, I don't know, maybe a year? Because I was also, a year later, I was going through a divorce as well. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you an exact date, how much time it took, but it got to the point where I was so burnt out. I was bending over backwards. I was coming into my days off. I was staying late. I was squeezing people in, and then I was getting tired. I was so tired. And I would have been about 28 at the time, and I was 10 years into my career at this point, and I was starting to feel bitter and resentful, and I found myself snapping at some clients here and there when I had created this monster. I had created this thing where my clients were asking things of me. It was my job to answer. And I always thought the only answer to a question was yes. I didn't know I could say no, especially in customer service. And I also think I got a bit of this from my dad. And this is no dig at my dad. My dad's a business owner as well. I remember him giving me a customer service book that was written in the 80s. And it basically said, if your best customer calls you on Christmas Day and you're having dinner with your family, like, you leave and you go meet them. Like, the customer's always right. You do everything for the customer. And while I think there is exception always, I think you have to have boundaries. And going into this journey, so I'm now almost 42 years old. So when I was 28, that's 14 years ago. Over the last 14 years, what I've learned about boundaries, about policies, about being honest about what I'm capable of doing, replying to things not out of obligation or expectation from myself or from other people, but from a place of how can I show up and do my best, has been such a key lesson for me. And it's been a journey, and it hasn't been easy learning to speak up for myself, learning to say what I want when I think it's not what the person wants to hear, when I fear disappointing someone, when I fear a negative reaction, when I fear pushback. Like, I want to avoid all those circumstances at all cost, to the point that it is easier to abandon myself and what is best for me. In my mind at the time, it felt better because the threat of someone being upset, disappointed, or let down by me felt so uncomfortable that I would rather endure the exhaustion, the burnout, the physical pain, the hunger of working 12 hours straight. I would rather endure that than someone being upset with me. This intense fear of not living up to other people's standards or disappointing other people, because my worth, my value, my self-esteem all came from the hands of other people. And I didn't realize this. I didn't know this. And that's what made it so hard, because when your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem, your self-confidence should come from self. But so many of us, it's your confidence, your esteem. We get it from we're borrowing other people's. And so when we can make other people happy, we feel good, because if we disappoint them, we take it personally. If someone's disappointed with us, when you don't have your own self-esteem, your own self-confidence, your own self-worth, when you don't know how to actually create that for yourself, you borrow others. And when they're not happy with you, or when they're disappointed, or when they're let down, then you are cut off from that source of worthiness, value, and confidence. And so the biggest lesson I've had to learn is how to cultivate and grow those feelings on my own, so that when I have to say no to a client, when I enforce my policies, that it hasn't felt like I am losing out, or I'm less than a person, or I'm no good, or clearly I don't care about other people. And learning how to communicate has been a really big part. So I'm really excited to share today how I enforce my policies now that have clients respect me more than ever. And spoiler, it's all in the way you communicate. And communication isn't something that has come second nature to me ever. It's been something that I practiced. And so just like getting fit, and I use this analogy all the time, but just like getting fit, it doesn't happen overnight. And you can go to the gym and you can work out, and it can be sore and uncomfortable for a few days after. And you're going to continue to work out, and you're going to be sore and uncomfortable for a while. But if you want to improve your relationships with your clients, if you want your business to grow and thrive in a revenue way, and a relational way, and a customer service way, and if you want your relationships outside of business to thrive, you have to start investing as much as you can into how you communicate. No one's going to read your mind for you. No one's going to understand what's going on inside of you. Your own past and stuff that you've gone through, whether it be in your childhood, past bosses, past clients, like nobody knows the inner workings of you, and no one is coming to save you and do the work for you. Decide that you're going to step up for yourself and for the people you care about the most, and for your business, and do the work to learn to communicate. And so today I'm going to help you learn how to communicate, enforcing your policies in a way that has your clients respecting you. And I am so very excited about it. Okay, so let's get into the 3 key steps of how to enforce your policies so that your clients respect you. And now here are the 3 steps that I'll expand into. Is 1, the root of people pleasing, understanding why you don't follow through and why you say yes to things you don't mean to say yes to. 2, how to cultivate internal confidence and self-worth. And 3, the communication piece, which is key, and enforcing your policies with compassion and authority. So let's dive into this. The root of people pleasing. The reason why you're not enforcing your policies is because you're scared to disappoint people. And so you say, quote unquote, yes to things that you don't want to say yes to, or you don't enforce your policies, which is a way of saying yes to the client, them getting the benefit, even when they haven't asked for something. Like a client, my client Brenda, I remember she was like more like a friend, and we were gossiping and we would have so much fun. And then this one time she called me right before her appointment. She was my last appointment on a Friday, and she said, something's come up and I can't make it. And I didn't even tell her I didn't remind her about my cancellation policy, because I was like, well, whatever, Brenda's more like a friend. So I didn't even say anything to her, and I just waived my cancellation policy without her even being aware of it. And then I got a call from her a couple of days later being like, Dawn, I need to get my hair done. Can you do it? And I was working from home at the time. And I was like, today's my day off. And she said, don't you work from home? And I was pissed. But at the same time, like, I couldn't express it. If I expressed it and told her I was pissed, like, that wouldn't be me. I like bottled all this rage and frustration up inside of me, but I didn't know how to let it out. And I didn't know how to healthily process it. And so what I did is I let it build up, and I was like, well, you know what? Okay, sure. Like, it's Brenda. She's more like a friend. Like, I like having her in anyway. So what's the big deal? So she came in on my day off, and we were talking, and she was gabbing away like she always does. And she was talking about like, oh my gosh, like she told me a funny joke. And I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. She's like, actually, my friend told me it. We skipped out of work early on Friday afternoon and went in for drinks on the patio. And I felt like that was like one of those like where everything slows down moments, because she didn't even realize what she had just did, which was gave away the fact that she canceled her Friday appointment to last minute to go have drinks, and lied to me and said something and come up. And I felt so manipulated in that moment, and I didn't say anything to her. I just let it go, but I was really hurt. And I remember being angry, but really deep down, that anger, it was just pure sadness that like, why do people feel the need to lie? If she would have been like, oh, I know I have an appointment with you, and I really want to come see you, but I just got this offer to go have drinks with my girlfriends on this patio. And there's a chance that it would have been like, no, like you know, this is putting me out money. Or if she would have been, honestly, like, I am more willing to make an exception when someone is honest. And so I remember feeling so disappointed and feeling used, but I didn't say anything and I didn't do anything. And then I just like slowly felt like I slowly started like taking steps backward and distancing myself and seeing that this wasn't a friendship. This was a client transaction. But the reason why I didn't enforce it, or why I didn't even let her know about my policy, is because I didn't want to deal with this feeling of making her feel bad or her feel guilty for canceling. I don't ever want anyone to feel bad, because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of being berated and being scolded and being told that someone's disappointed in you. And I've actually seen things where they say, like, for parents, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've seen like memes where it's like, it's actually worse to say to your kids, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And I don't know what founding that is, but I can see like feeling like you've disappointed someone is so uncomfortable. And so also taking the fall, like I would rather lose the money than disappoint someone. And that's why we sabotage our business and our revenues so much, especially as creatives who are highly empathetic, is you care so much about people, and you are doing this job not to make the big bucks, although you want to make more money. But in that moment where you have to decide, do I lose money or do I deal with an uncomfortable situation, emotional situation where I don't know how to process my emotions. I don't know how to sit in my emotions. I don't even know how to feel them. And so when that my body has that reaction and I don't even know what emotion it is and I don't know how to label it, like I would rather just lose the money. And that knee-jerk reaction, that moment, is lose the money. And so this fear of disappointing others stems from a need for external validation. And when we need others to validate us, we have really weak boundaries. And policies are essentially boundaries for your business. And when you have really weak policies, you'll get walked all over. And it is not about them, it's about you. And so I need you to know this. It's not about them changing their ways, it's about you changing how you show up. And when you equate your self-worth with your client's satisfaction in you, this is danger for burnout, for frustration, for resentment, and for leaving the industry. So I need you to understand how important it is to start investing in learning how to stop people pleasing and how to understand yourself more and understand your emotions, not so that you have to sit in discomfort. It's actually you not processing your emotions and not learning how to label them and not knowing how to sit in them. You actually live in more discomfort. You think you're avoiding it. You think you're running away from it. You think you're avoiding feeling it. You actually feel it more. Your body feels it more. And then you're looking for everything everywhere else to be the solution. Where if you just allowed yourself to get uncomfortable for a moment and actually sit in it rather than run away from it, to promise to yourself, I'm going to enforce this policy. And even if this person is disappointed with me, I know I'm okay and I'm safe and I'm worthy. And you'll realize that the thing you're running from isn't as scary as you think it is. It's like you're seeing this big shadow and it's actually just a tiny little thing with a light shining. You've shone this light on it for so long that the shadow is bigger than the actual thing. And you're scared of the shadow you're seeing, and you've made the shadow into something huge because you keep shining the light brighter and brighter. When you take that light off the thing and you see what's actually creating the shadow, it's not that big of a deal. So let's go on to number 2. You need to start cultivating your inner confidence in your self-worth. It's called self-worth, self-confidence for a reason. You have to find it from yourself. You need to do things like, whether it's maybe journaling or meditation or just celebrating your small wins. Learning how to develop your worth and value from yourself. Learning how to get your worth and value and your confidence from yourself and not from other people. And I want to share with you guys, I was in Mexico in late November visiting a friend, and we did our own little retreat, just me, her, and her other friend at a lake house. And we did a cacao ceremony, which if you've ever done a cacao ceremony, they're so cool. But we decided to write down everything we want to get rid of and leave, I guess, in 2024. And we wrote them down, and I was having anxiety being like, we're going to throw them in a fire and burn them. And I was like, but what if I forget what I wrote down, and how am I going to let it go? Just trust that your body knows. Like, so much anxiety of being attached to the things that I don't like about myself. And so we did this cacao ceremony, and then we decided to meditate. And both of my friends had phrases that they use when they meditate. And I was like, I want a phrase. So I just asked my inner self, what do I need to hear? And the phrase that I got was, you are safe with yourself. And fearing being alone, whether it be physically alone, emotionally alone, relationally alone, I've been in my own business alone for a long time. Like, I have isolated myself in many ways, but also fear being alone. And that phrase has brought me to tears so many times of, you are safe with yourself. You are safe with yourself. You are safe with yourself. And learning to trust and believe that I am all that I need. I want other people in my life. I want to share my successes, my wins, my failures. Like, I want to have community. But ultimately, I'm safe with myself, and knowing that I've got everything that I need, and I don't need to outsource my worth, my confidence, my value. And I have to tell you, like, that was the end of November. Some other things that have happened in and around the end of December. And I literally, it was like a switch flipped when the new year happened. And not saying that I won't ever struggle with this stuff again, but I have refocused on myself instead of focusing on how my clients, my colleagues, my friends, my family needs to change to make me feel better. Just focusing on what makes me feel better, what makes me feel confident, and realizing that there might be pushback, there might be backlash, there might be criticism, there might be critiques, there might be disappointment. But ultimately, I am all I've got in this life. I am my own guarantee. And yes, I want to share my life with other people, but I am safe with myself. I have everything I need. And it's funny, like, I've heard these phrases, I've known this for a long time, but it clicked in a way January 1st that I have never experienced it clicking on a deeper level. It was like the whole analogy of put your oxygen mask on first before you can help other people. I've always known that, but it clicked on a deeper level. And I'd really lost myself, and I'd lost myself in my business. I lost myself in my relationship. I lost myself. I just didn't know who I was anymore, because I was hyper vigilant to not wanting to feel another failure, because the pain of failure in my life has been so deep, and an emotion again that I don't ever want to feel. But realizing that pain I can live through, and I've lived through failures in business. I've fried someone's hair off. I messed up an NHL hockey wife's hair. I've gone through a divorce. I've ended a 10-year-long relationship. Like, I've been through shit. And I know you have your own version of shit that you've been through as well. And you don't ever want to feel it again. And maybe you've pushed it down so deep that you don't even know what it is anymore. You just know that feeling when you feel it, and you run so hard and fast from it. And either you go into people pleasing, or you just shut down and run away. And so learning to lean on yourself. How can you lean on making you the most healthiest version of yourself? One thing that I've decided to do is I'm cutting out alcohol, I'm cutting out caffeine, and I actually stopped my ADHD meds. Now, I'm not saying you have to, I'm not a doctor. Do not follow this for yourself. Figure out what's best for you. But I actually found my ADHD meds. They gave me energy. They gave me a little bit of focus, but ultimately they weren't helping. And if you've been around long enough, I went on them. I went off them. I went on functional mushrooms. What are they called? Adaptogens. I'm like totally blanking, but like lion's mane and cordyceps and that stuff. And I felt really good. And then I went back on my ADHD meds because I was going through some shit. And they were actually, the Vyvanse really helps my depression and anxiety. And I think there's a blend for me personally of holistic and Western medicine that works really good for me depending on what I'm going through. But anyway, I decided, I looked back and I was like, when did I feel my best? I wasn't drinking caffeine. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I was off my ADHD meds, and I was meditating. I was moving my body, and I wasn't looking at how everybody else needed to change to make me happy. I was purely focusing on how do I make myself happy. So I've reinstated taking myself on self dates. I wake up every morning, and the first thing I do is I go to my treadmill and I walk for 10 minutes and longer if I want. I read a book every day for even just 10 minutes. And I just do things that maybe I don't necessarily feel like doing. Like sometimes we think self-care and self-love is I'm just going to lay on the couch and scroll. I'm just going to watch a show. But sometimes self-care and self-love is doing something that doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment, but I know in the long run is going to make me feel good. Last night I meal prepped and food prepped for the week. So I have vegetables and protein and non-refined sugar treats so that I can clean my system out, and just doing the things that I know are going to develop me into the best version of myself, the most balanced version, the most calmest version, and the most confident, worthy person that I will get for myself. And so I need you to know that if you want to be more confident and you want to not worry about what other people think, then invest into what you think of yourself rather than investing in what you think other people are thinking. Like case in point, today I got a comment on my Instagram about a grammar mistake, and the girl, I really believe that she thought she was very critical, but I think she thought she was helping, and passed on would have spiraled and wanted to defend because someone being critical of me would feel like a threat of saying I wasn't enough, I wasn't worthy, or I was wrong. And the pain and discomfort of feeling wrong, bad, guilty is so uncomfortable that the defense mechanism would want to kick in and tell them, no, you're not right. Because if I could tell them they're not right, then I feel relieved of this discomfort. So again, cultivating that internal confidence and self-worth is going to change your business, your revenue, your relationship with your clients, and everything outside of your business as well. Okay, so how do you do this? Communication is so key, and enforcing policies is important to do it with compassion and authority as well. So how do you say no with compassion and authority? This is my key phrase that I want you to memorize. I really want to say yes right now, and I'm not saying no, but I need some time to think about it. Or alternatively, I really want to say yes right now, but the reality is that I would be doing you a disservice by not giving you the quality of service you're used to getting from me if I said yes. And the reason why you come to me is because of the quality I provide. So I have to say no. This shows empathy that you're saying no because you care about them. And I think from the hairdresser perspective, as I was a hairstylist, or still am, but I was a full-time hairstylist for over 20 years, is I said yes because I wanted to make them happy, and I'd make them happy in the moment only to defer disappointment later. If I squeezed someone in and then I couldn't do the full head and then they're like, this doesn't feel right, or I'd squeeze them in and I would do like a 75% job rather than a 90% job. I don't use 100% because none of us are perfect. And realizing that they're coming to me for that amazing service and experience that I provide. And so if I'm going to say yes to squeeze them in, and that by compromising what the service and the experience I can provide, that's just not fair. And so being honest is actually the most people-pleasing thing you can do, even if that means having to disappoint them. And you can say, oh, I'm so scared of disappointing you, I want to say yes. But the reality is if I say yes, I'm actually going to disappoint you more. And so I have to say no. And when someone understands that and hears that, that's a game changer. And this is the things that I help my Rock Your Business students on our weekly call about. They bring situations with their clients and I'm able to help. It's like this weird gift that I have. I don't know if I want to say weird, but it's taken a lot of time and practice and understanding myself and my motives and what's underneath it, and really peeling back the layers to be able to communicate clearly. Because when you hear me saying this, it's not rocket science, right? But we're so stuck in the defense mechanism or the fight and flight or the fear of, if I say something and disappoint someone, then I feel bad or guilty, and that's so uncomfortable. So I'm just going to do what I can. But you actually create that feeling of guilt and disappointment at a much higher, stronger magnitude later on. You're just deferring it. So know that clear, direct, consistent, and compassionate communication fosters respect and strengthens your relationship with your clients. So I want you to know that you need to recognize the problem and understand where your people pleasing is coming from. Start to shift internally and build up the confidence to change, and take external action by communicating your boundaries and policies with respect and clarity. And you might just be surprised, friend, by how amazing your clients respond to this. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Anxious Creative Podcast. Remember, saying yes to everything doesn't make you better at what you do. It keeps you stuck in burnout, resentment, and frustration. True respect comes when you communicate your boundaries with clarity and compassion. So if you're ready to stop people pleasing and start building the life, business, and relationships you've always dreamed of, check out the show notes for a link to my free workshop, or visit dawnbradley.com/free class. Next week, we're going to be talking about why most service providers fail at charging their worth and how to change that. It's going to be so good and you don't want to miss it. So until next time, stay weird, stay messy, and most importantly, friend, stay unapologetically you. See you next week.